How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a brief discussion on Regenerator and why we've kind of hit that point of a draft league cycle of a generation where Regen just becomes stupid good. And I'm going to talk about it in a few different ways. Uh, I want to focus on three mons in particular. Well, really, actually, two, but there will just kind of be a brief lesson at the beginning in terms of stuff that's already good and has kind of shown that way. So, as you can see in front of you is the DPL9 dock, and to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the top two mons are regen mons. I'm not going to talk about Torrent T much in this video, like we all know my thoughts on Terra Torrent T at this point. It just is the best mon in the format, in my opinion. It's just stupid good, the team's really easy to build around it, and yeah, it's just a super consistent mon. So, not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. That's not a whole lot to do with Regenerator. The other one that I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about is Hydrapple, which, as you can see, that thing also did pretty well for itself. Let me just, yeah, as you can see, Hydrapple, pretty decent win rate. It did okay for itself. Definitely wasn't helped by the fact that there was a team that dropped a Terra Raging Bolt for it. Less said about that, the better. So yeah, like I've talked about Terra Hydrapple enough on the channel. Like I've shown year dunk replays. I've shown various bits and pieces. We all know Terra Hydrapple's good. But there is three mons that I want to kind of focus on. One of which is it kind of had its breakout event in DPL Season 9, and that's Alomomola. It's another mon I've talked about enough on this channel. You know, Wish, Flip Turn, Assault Vest Flip Turn, Healing Wish Bot, like get Icy Wind stuff, and Aquajet stuff. We've talked about Hootax. But I think it's fair to say, because the three mons that I'm using for this comparison are all water types. So, and I think the other interesting discussion is how Alomomola kind of changed between this event, where, as you can see, wasn't drafted super consistently, but had really good win percentages constantly. Was very rarely benched too. And then we get to DCL 3 that has recently been concluded, and that is not what I want. That spoils something for later. Oh no. If we go to here, yeah, like you can see this Alomomola was picked up at mids. This was another Alomomola that I don't remember which one was the starting Alomomola and which one was the pre-mids Alomomola. I think this was the starting Alomomola and this was the mid-season Alomomola. But yeah, as you can see, the records aren't anywhere near as good. It just kind of got slapped onto a bunch of teams. Yeah, that was the mid-season Alomomola because Alomomola was here, was doing really badly. Yeah. Then of course, here's another Alomomola, but that's the Who team. That's to the surprise of absolutely nobody. So yeah, Alomomola did get fine times drafted, but its win percentage in general was nowhere near as high because people were just doing a really good job of exploiting Alomomola because it was at a point where like everyone knows what Alomomola does. It's going to switch in, it's going to tank a hit, it's going to flip turn out, it's going to get regen. And whether that is it's AV and it's going to tank a hit, or if it's just boots and it's going to tank a physical hit, like we all know what Alomomola does. It's just very annoying, very consistent, and just really nice in the current metagame because it gives you that positioning tool, which is really critical. So I just wanted to talk about that briefly, and I've accidentally ended up highlighting the next mon that I wanted to talk about. And it's an interesting discussion. The reason being behind it is that, Alomomola, very expensive at this point. Alomomola is 10 points. You used to be able to get that thing for like 7 or 8. And Alomomola is only going to go up as well. So the main one was like, right, how can we get that water type, that regen pivot, maybe doesn't have access to flip turn, but does a lot of similar jobs of just sits there and is an annoying piece of shit. And that's where people, or rather, it was mostly Zero Fox given, pivoted to Toxapex. Toxapex that had, I believe, 2.5 usages. You see it on servers there. There was one on the Yoshis as well, if I can find them. Yep, there's another Toxapex here. And yeah, the general idea was just kind of use it as an inject button pivot or use it as just your fat sponge to stuff. And Foxes used it really well on these two teams. They're two most consistent teams by a mile. 9-1 is crazy. Like, obviously, they were benefited by being able to get a Lando T on this team at mids for the sake of a Roaring Moon, which, that's a big dub. And a Darkrai. So, Like, the team was just super consistent. And the 7-1, as you can see, Torrenting Ludinite, really, really fucking boring. Shout out to Kaker for being really fucking boring. But Toxapex was here as well. And Toxapex was kind of used differently with both teams. It was interesting because obviously the SV4 here is a lot kind of fatter in nature. So you were seeing it a lot less as like a general pivot, more like I just kind of need a response to this. And you were kind of seeing T-Spike, or you were seeing like just kind of more haze-based sets. Whereas on Team 3, it was a lot more just an offensive pivot, especially to allow kind of Sun in or a Sun Abuser in. Well, I say Sun Abuser, there's one of them called Raging Bolt. And yeah, you saw a lot more eject button. You saw some very interesting sets from this Toxapex, which we'll get into kind of one example here. There's a few examples, but I wanted to show, as I said in the Week 6 tab, we have this game here that was played in Week 6. It was a Game 8, and it was between Undead and Panda. Panda was using, both teams using the SV3, which is ironic because in SV3, Wishes initially had the Darkrai and the Lando T that you can see on Undead's side, but traded it away for a Roaring Moon because Sun does not function without a Roaring Moon. So this is a really interesting game because of the way that the Toxapex is used, so I wanted to highlight it. Another one that's interesting is Finals, where Toxapex was also used really well by Kakrik against Bobbert, and it was actually Mirror Herb, which was really fun. If you haven't seen that game, do check it out. So we look at this game here. In terms of Terras, we see a Terra Fairy Raging Bolt, whereas on Panda's side, we see Terra Grass on the Hisuian. So we see Terra Steel on the Cresselia and Terra Ground on the Walking Wake. Obviously 2 hits at Toxapex. Anyways, let's hop into this game. We see a lead Lando into lead Cresselia, and we see a pivot immediately into Toxapex not want to take an Ice Beam, as Panda goes into Walking Wake, clicking Whirlpool in an attempt to trap and murder the Toxapex. So we see Toxa coming off immediately. We see an Outrage doing 46, as Undead reveals Stockpile, and Stockpile is the key to the success of this Toxapex set. We see an Outrage again, just about not getting the kill on Toxapex, proving how fat it is, as Undead gets Recover off. Toxic stalling the Walking Wake whilst being Whirlpool trapped. The Wake hits Self-Confusion, as Undead gets another Recover off, and the Toxapex is back to full, while Walking Wake's at 30. So Illigan pivots in, catching a Toxic as Undead makes a nice read. And all of a sudden, this Pex is looking really annoying. We see an Encore, so at least can't quite be as annoying. But even still, he's 2 months Toxic already. Panda goes Torkoal, hoping he doesn't stay in Toxic, as Undead goes Corviknight. Good play by Panda to catch the relatively obvious switch in. The Lando T is the pivot of choice, as rocks go up, with an attempt to get up his own rocks, taking a Fire Blast in the process and doing 79 from a Torkoal. Earth Power does 84, as Panda attempts to click Rapid Spin, but dies to Rocky Helmet, so rocks stay up in the process. And the sun is now gone. We see a booster Photosynthesis in attack from the Roaring Moon, as that just locks out the Landers with knockoff, allowing Raging Bolt to come in and get off its Terra Fairy. Photosynthesis special attack, to the surprise of nobody, as Panda sacks off his Walking Wake, showing Photosynthesis an attack. Oh no, he doesn't! As Undead used the opportunity to click Calm Mind. We see a Liquidation doing a grand total of 16 because it's in Sun, as Undead gets up a sub. Wake dies to poison. The issue here, of course, is, well, the Cresselia comes in and clicks Terra Steel, which that could have been Lilligant and click Encore, but that wasn't the case. We see another Calm Mind from the Raging Bolt, as we're going to get into a nice Calm Mind war here. As Panda clicks it again, Undead clicks it again. This is really exciting content, guys. I know you're really enjoying it. As we see the Roar from Undead, really nice prep, as that forces in the Roaring Moon, which has Iron Head to break the sub, but is going to drop to Terror Blast here. So really nice set here from Undead, as we see the Asui and Lilligan coming out, clicking Petal Blizzard, doing 45, as Terror Blast picks up the kill. Because he only has 1 out, and that is for Gouging to kill. As Raging Fury does, in fact, get the kill on the Bolt. We see Ogerpon Cornerstone come in, knowing that it can revenge. No, it cannot, as we see Scarf. As Ivy Cudgel picks up the kill on the gouging. And then it leaves Panda with the Cresselia, clicking Synthesis. As we see a Psyshock, he doesn't want to get encored by this Ogerpon, as he gets encored anyways. As the Crest is back at full, we see a hard Darkrai, knowing that the Crest is locked into Psyshock. We see a nasty plot here on yet another Psyshock, as Undead's just trying to end this game as quickly as possible. We see a Dark Pulse, which only does 42, which is insane, as Panda gets up another Calm Mind. We see another nasty plot here, as Terra Steel is revealed, doing 47. Dark Pulse is not going to do enough to kill, doing a grand total of 47, as another Terra Blast is going to pick up the kill. We see Corviknight come in here, attempting to pressure stall, but this is a free Moonlight for Panda. As we see Defog get clicked, trying to make sure the Cornerstone does not take any unnecessary damage. Psyshock does a grand total of 11, as we see another Defog click, as he's trying not to waste any other PP. As we see a U-turn here, as Panda's worried about slow U-turn to getting encored. As we see the Ogerpon come in, you defog to make sure that didn't die to rocks. We see another Calm Mind here, expecting either the Synthesis or the Switch out. As Terra Blast Steel does a grand total of 20. Undead clicks defog again. We see another Calm Mind, as Corviknight clicks Roost. And yeah, as you can see, it's just kind of getting into a very long game state here. Terra Blast does 22. Undead clicks defog again, once again trying not to waste PP. Psyshot does 19. Because Panda's really worried about clicking Calm Mind on a slow U-turn to get encored and the game is basically over. That would be the problematic scenario here. We see Terra Blast Steel doing 22. We see Terra Blast Steel do 26 as Corv clicks Roost again. Panda still taking no chances in clicking Calm Mind as Undead gets another Roost off, as the slow U-turn looks relatively obvious. We see a Moonlight, interesting play as he's trying not to get PP stalled, but the Ogerpon comes in and is able to just click Encore. He didn't want to get PP stalled by the pressure Corv, but he was just in a really bad position, so it's just an easy play to punish, as we see Moonlight, and I think I can probably whack up the speed on this. Let's take it on fast. Yeah, so we see the Ogerpon come in here, more lefties, the Encore ends, another Encore, and he only needs 2 more of these Moonlights. He gets a free Synthesis up with the Ogerpon. He gets another free Synthesis to get back to Sturdy, as that is the last Moonlight, so he can't Encore him again, which Undead does not realize because he's a dingus. But this is yet another Encore into Calm Mind, and yeah, this is just I'm actually going to whack this up even more, because we're not going to waste each other's time. Calm Mind, slow U-turn, Ogerpon, we see another Encore. Yeah, this is just going to be a lot of pivoting back and forth. But, yeah. I would click the skip to end button, but yeah, we all had to watch this, so I'm going to make you watch it too. This is great content, guys. I know. I'm so good at this whole thing. Undead lets the Terra Blast go off because there's only 12 Calm Minds left, but he encores into another Calm Mind. He's defogging, trying to PP stall. The Corviknight's back at full. We see just a lot of bullshit. Terra Blast Steel's only doing 36, but plus 6, which is kind of the whole problem here. Psyshock, we see Protect. We see another Calm Mind. We see another Calm Mind, because he is now out of Psyshocks and out of Terra Blasts. The Toxapex is just able to PP stall this out, as we see Panda struggle to death, which I'm going to put back on normal speed. And yeah, really, really long game. It was a weird game. But the key thing here was that the Toxapex, the stockpile was kind of the key here. Because the stockpile meant that it was not getting trapped by the physical walking wake, and getting that crucial toxic off on Asui and Lilligant as well. And it just kind of came in at a good time. The Raging Bolt set was also really smart from Foxes here. The so-called Mind Roar just effectively soloed, and it kind of forced Panda to sack half his team. So yeah, really nice set, and this game ends with the Toxapex. So the key thing here is Toxapex did really well for Foxes, as I said. It was a nice backbone to the 2 most successful teams of the entire tour. And so we came to Seasonal, and we have this post here by Scribble, where he kind of broke down some of the usage stats. Really good piece. I'll link it in the description. He does a good job, Scribble always does a good job in terms of explaining stuff on the rise. You can see a few bits here, and this is the one we want to focus on here, is the Toxapex usage going up. And as you can see here, like, it had its great performance. It was a crucial part of the ZFG. So using it as a roadblock for mons that are on the rise, like Terra Keldeo, Terra Urshifu Rapid, kind of forces very particular prep for that. And yeah, it's 7 points. It's an eject button bot. It can red card out stuff. And I'm currently using it myself. I haven't quite gotten the hang of it. It feels a bit clunky in my hands. K-Crick did kind of warn me, but I did it anyways. My season was just a bit of a car crash at the minute. The less said about it, the better. If it improves, you might see a video on it. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Toxapex had a really positive performance. And this just kind of shows why Regen is just really good in the metagame at the minute, because we are in that slower, fatter stage. And while, yes, DCL did kind of get rid of it, there's still success in it. A lot of it, of course, in that Torrensing loose structures, if it's done right. There is still fat pieces doing well. Like, Alomomola is still doing pretty alright for itself. Toxapex is doing well. Like, there is still mons with backbone. Petrarunt is obviously still great. Like, there's mons with backbones that can still do very, very well in this metagame. Even if, like, the fatter structures didn't necessarily do as well as initially predicted throughout DCL. And so, you're probably wondering, in terms of my what's next on this conveyor belt. And it's a bit of a different mon, but it's a mon that I think is really good. And maybe I'm slightly biased, but this thing has so many tools that it's really effective as what it's turning into is like a really effective lower tier Terra Captain that's being discussed about a hell of a lot. And that mon, as we can see here, is Terra Slowbro. Now, you might look at this net change and say it's nothing, but it's an interesting discussion, as Scribble mentions here. It's because every single Slowbro drafted in Seasonal was declared a Terra Captain. And the reason for this is Slowbro it's more in the mold of Hydrapple compared to the other two that we've discussed because of its plethora of setup options and coverage. As well as stat distribution. It's a very similar stat distribution. It has a far less special attack and it doesn't have a move as stupid as Fickle Beam. But there's a really wide move pool that can be abused in a bunch of ways. Like, you can run Iron Defense sets, Calm Mind sets, Nasty Spot Breaker sets. There's just Trick Room 3 attack sets. You can go general offensive. So, yeah. Like, it was really interesting to kind of look at that. And I've been seeing Charles the Cookie. He's one of the 5 people using Terra Slowbro at the moment. And some of his games are absolutely amazing. I almost featured one of them in here. But I had a different game that I wanted to show that I kind of had picked out, because I think it's fair to mention the original, or at least what I think is the original person that was like, hey, Terra Slowbro can absolutely cook. And that man in question is Spees. Shout out Spees. He's the absolute goat. I love him. And I know what you're thinking. This is, in fact, a DGBA game. And there is a case for maybe I was better off using a seasonal example. But I think this perfectly epitomizes how a Slowbro can be adapted to any sort of structure. So as we can see here, Spees is taking on Who, and this is a very Who-looking team. There's an Alomomola, there's a Darkrai, there's an Avalugg, there's Fast Encore, and there's a Klefki just for being generally annoying. And as you can see, Spees here has a Masquerada, he's a Garchomp, Keldeo and Ursaluna, just 2 strong hitters. I think the Ursaluna's Terra at this point. It was Keldeo at one point. I don't remember when exactly he switched it. I don't really care. It doesn't matter for this video. With the Mandibuzz and our aforementioned protagonist of Terra Slowbro. So let's hop into this game and see what happens. Just to quickly comment on Terras, we see Terra Fairy on the Avalugg to help with the Garchomp. And we see Terra Ghost on the Quaquaval, which I imagine is to also kind of help with Ursaluna, as well as with Keldeo on Who's side. Whereas on Speeds' side, we see Terra Normal from Ursaluna, probably just to help Facade hit stupid strong. And we see Terra Fairy on the Slowbro. We see a Klefki lead here from Who, as Speeds leads Masquerada, as we see an Avalugg pivot on the U-turn to get off Rocky Helmet Ship. This invites in the Slowbro, and as we can see, on the Alomomola pivot, which makes sense, it's Who, it's going to be an AV Alomomola pivot, we see the Substitute come out. And this was a set that's basically designed to solo Who's stall, and you'll see the pandemonium that ensues. We see a flip turn, which does not break the sub, obviously, because it's a Slowbro and an Alomomola. We see a nasty plot, as Who tries to click Switcheroo, which doesn't work behind a sub. There was some confusion about that during the game. And we see another surf here as Who pivots into his Alomomola. We see a play rough that also does not break sub, as Psychic Noise comes out doing 50%. We see the flip turn that does not break sub, as Spees was unsure on the roll, so clicks sub on the Salazzle. Encore from the Salazzle should stop the rampage, but the Slowbro's mental herb, and goodbye Salazzle. It was pretty obvious Who was going to bring Encore, because he's not the type of person to bring the... he's not the type of person to have unaware bonds, because he's not Theo. We see a light screen here, as Surf does not get the kill. As we see the Alomomola come back in, taking the +2 Surf like nothing, taking 17. Flip turn does break the sub this time, as Who pivots into his Darkrai, as the sub gets up again here. Ice Beam does not break it, as Who tries to predict the Terra Fairy, as a crit Surf just absolutely obliterates this Darkrai, which really sucks, but I feel like the Slowbro won anyways. Aqua Step does a lot of damage, as Psychic Noise here does 32 behind the light screen, which now goes away, as the Klefki is not Light Clay. Slowbro does switch out, trying to scout for Terrago's Terra Blast, as we see a Rough Skin Rocky Helmet Garchomp here, designed to just wear down this Alomomola as fast as possible. We see an Endeavor, which is cool, as Dragon Tail doesn't quite pick up the kill, as Who also reveals to be Rocky Helmet. We see Switcheroo of a Choice Scarf, as Spees gets up a layer of spikes, before going back into Slowbro, as Who follows suit. Foul Play does not do enough to break a sub, but Slowbro just raw nasty plots him. We see yet another Foul Play, as Surf picks up the kill. See the Alomomola come back in here, because obviously the Quackfall dies to spikes, needing to click Healing Wish, as it reveals to not be AV, just kind of spit death. We see the Terra Fairy here on the obvious knockoff, as +2 Surf easily picks it off, as the last one here from Who is the Avalugg, which just drops to +2 Surf. And that's a 6-0. All Slowbro, because this mon is great. So, I kind of hope we do see a lot more Terra Slowbro. It's a really cool mon, and I imagine come like DPL time, if it sticks at a similar enough price, this will be a very common secondary captain, especially on Terra Torn structures, Terra Bolt structures, and maybe even Terra Root structures. Because Psychic types are weird this gen, and a lot of people don't like a lot of them. So I think we will see a hell of a lot more Slowbro usage as time goes on. So I think that's kind of the next one on the conveyor belt. So if Slowbro goes up to a double-digit value at some point over the next like 6 months, you can blame me, alright? Sound good? Yeah, sounds good. Anyways, guys, this was a bit of a shorter discussion than usual. These are the types of discussions that I kind of want to do a little bit more, because I think the shorter ones can sometimes be a little bit more impactful. So if there is stuff you just kind of want me to talk about for 25-30 minutes on various draft stuff, let me know. They might be a little while because of some other commitments that I have, which I will be talking about more later this week. But these are still videos that I kind of do want to cover in regards to, like, this is the kind of thing I base my content off. I do a lot of kind of drafting topics, drafting discussions, breakdowns, that sort of thing. So I think it makes a lot of sense to keep this kind of content going and also make it shorter, because not everyone wants to sit through an hour review of a bunch of different games. So I think just kind of having it that snappy 20-30 minutes is a nice pace. Anyways, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed, and I shall catch you later in the week for a bit of an update for what's next for this channel. Talk to you later, guys. Peace.